Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 32 of the inkpod.podcast. Today, we have here Eric Naftal, the president of Action Engineering, along with our weekly co host, Jeff Fiorucci from Stampinator. Thanks for joining, Jeff.
Thanks. Thanks for having me, Zach. Looking
Eric,
forward to this episode.
thanks
Hey,
as
very
well.
good, gentlemen. I really appreciate you letting me join you this week.
Definitely.
Great
We're
to be
looking
with you
forward to it.
both.
So, Eric, obviously, you've been a household name in the screen print industry for a very, very long time. But those who may not be familiar with you or your company, do you mind just introducing a little bit about yourself and also talking about Action Engineering, um, history, how you guys got started, and kind of where you're at?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, man. Love to. Eric Naftal, been running Action Engineering for 33 years. I can't believe it's been that long. It's been the greatest joy of my life. I still enjoy my work very much. I get in here every day at 4:30 or 5 a.m. and have been developing production accessories for use in textile decorating for, as I said, a very long time. Um, what else?
So,
No, I should have a better answer than that. Let's make sure
yeah,
that gets
well, hey, look,
edited out.
so look, how did you, what I like to know is, when I always talk to people within the industry is most important, right? How'd you get involved in screen printing? How'd you get involved into making accessories for the screen print industry? Were you a screen printer at one point in your life? Or, how did you find your
Okay.
way into the industry of screen printing?
I was conscripted. My father had a company that he started in 1976. I was 11 years old, working at the end of a dryer catching shirts. I was the conscripted kid that was forced to wash screens when I was a bad boy. I don't know what else to tell you. So I always knew growing up I didn't want to actually work in a screen print shop because it was always my punishment. And but I loved working in the art room. I loved working on equipment. I was a gearhead. I used to rebuild my cars before I even was able to drive. And I was taking my bicycle and chopping it apart and rebuilding it and remaking it into cooler bicycles. So I've been working with machinery since I was able to ride a bicycle. Um,
So your
so
dad was a screen printer.
he was, and he had one of the largest shops here in Atlanta. He was the number one screen printer for Coca-Cola. He was the screen printer for the Falcons and the Braves and all of the really well-known Atlanta historical sports teams. And, I remember the first 500,000 piece order that he got from Ford back in the
Wow.
late 70s and how much fun that was.
Yeah, that's pretty
Yeah,
awesome.
I could
So,
imagine.
that's yeah, I mean, that's pretty awesome to learn that about you because I didn't know that. I always thought of Eric as, hey, Eric just went to school, was an engineer developing product, and all of a sudden he said, "Hey, I'm going to pick this industry. This is my slot.
Yeah,
Boom, I'm in. I'm going to
Yeah.
yeah.
manufacture accessories."
And
So I used
it,
to,
it's It's kind of similar
I
to
was,
your story, Jeff, like
It is.
you start off a screen printer and you saw a problem, which was, hey, figure out a way to, mat down the fibers, get a better print, replace a flash, free up more print heads. And you came up with an idea while you were, essentially in production. So Eric, transitioning that to your experience, was there like a specific moment where you saw a problem and you're like, hey, I'm going to come up with a solution, which led to the birth of Action Engineering? Or how did that come over? How did you go from transitioning to catching shirts at the back of the dryer or washing out screens where a naughty boy to opening up your business?
well, my business was actually started by my father and brother. And 6 months later, my brother left because it wasn't making enough money to support his family. And I had just moved back from New Jersey after graduating college. Um, and my father, it was, I guess, basically laying dormant for a year, actually. And my father said, hey, if you want to give this a shot, I've got an office here. I've got a phone for you. I've got a handful of parts to sell. Because at the time, the only thing this company was doing was selling replacement parts for precision hydraulic oval
Mm,
machines. They were the dominant machine back in the late 80s, early 90s. And so when I walked into it, I had about $10,000 worth of electronic parts and hydraulic parts that were specifically for precision ovals. And, I wish there's a lot more to it than that, but I, uh, I eventually began to see that one of the items that we were selling was the best item that we could focus on, and they were called pallets. At the time, we were having those produced by another company. It became big, it became important, and I learned how to do them myself. Bought the machinery, and just never had actually manufactured anything aside from working on a lot of different machines. I really never was, besides all of the tree houses I built when I was a kid, I really had never been a metal manufacturer. And got a drill press, started learning how to drill. Then we bought a manual mill, learned how to use it. Then we bought a CNC machine, and I spent the weekend just reading the book, wrote my first CNC program by Monday morning, and it was just trial and error, man. It's a lot of
that's
fun.
awesome.
Loved every second of it.
Yeah, yeah, and I think it's safe to say that you've probably manufactured more Platons than probably anyone in North America. I mean, I would say that that's a pretty confident statement you can make. So you could probably settle one of the biggest screen print, what would you call it, like argument or not a misunderstanding, but
I know what's
every
coming.
screen
Yeah, go
printer,
ahead.
half the industry calls them Platons, half them call pallets. I think you're, the godfather of this space because I think you've, like I said, have the experience. Whatever you say goes. What do you call them, Platons or pallets, and why?
Yeah. Well, the word I grew up with is pallets. When we talk about heat presses and DTF, we talk about platens. They're interchangeable. Um, you know, where the word pallet comes from originally, not 100% sure, but all of the original precision guys, all of the original American guys, everybody used the word pallet. Nobody ever said platen until, I don't know, late 90s, early 2000s. I started to hear the word used. But
Jeff, where do you
I
sit
like
on that?
pallets.
Hey, look, I just look at everything. It's just a palette to me, right? So
Thank you.
it's yeah. I think it's Zach. I think you're the one that is the Platon guy, right? So
I I mean, I don't know how it started. I mean, yeah, I'd say I probably call them more Platons than pallets. I feel like
yeah,
the problem is when you communicate to a lot of customers and you say pallets, they start mixing them up with, the pallets is, the skids that you're getting the apparel decorated on, right? So I don't know where the mix up came along, but yeah, everyone always calls them different things. So, but yeah, cool. Well, yes, speaking to that note, Eric, I mean, there aren't many players that are in your space, except for the OEM manufacturers themselves, right? You talked a little bit about the type of equipment that, started off little drill press, the CNC, and I'm sure that's grown. I mean, to have your type of business, action engineering, what kind of investment is needed in both, equipment and personnel, knowledge? What is needed to be successful in your space? And what would you say differentiates yourself from other competitors in the space? I don't even know if there's other guys that are making quote unquote aftermarket pallets. So compared to them or the OEM manufacturers, make that comparison as well. What's making you stand out?
Well, I will tell you that one of the reasons that the products we produce are important to us is because they are not important to the OEMs. And I found that out years and years and years ago when we were trying to buy pallets from Precision for use on our precision machines. It took forever. And the company was very difficult to work with. The prices were ridiculously high. the quality was questionable, and they just did not treat the order with respect. And let me just elaborate. The OEMs get $100,000 orders, then they get an order for pallets. Which one's the most important to them?
Oh, for sure.
It's an obvious choice of economic focus. And when we get an order for pallets, this is our bread and butter. It's something that we get to work on immediately. We go the extra mile to put in the extra touches, to add the extra features, and that is what differentiates us from the OEM. You also mentioned that we're the only ones that do it. True, up to a point. Other companies, they have a little piece here, little piece there. I'm constantly finding our palette designs having been copied and posted on other places. Nobody has the comprehensive product line that we have. And it's taken, as I said earlier, 33 years to develop everything that we have. Uh, and I still, like I say, I get up every day, and the reason I'm here so early is I can't wait to get to work, man. I love this shit. It's great. It's fun. I still have a great time doing it.
Yeah. So you've been in business for 30 years, right?
33, my friend.
33. So 33 years, give us some of the ups and downs within the industry. Is, like, how have you seen, the uprise with the economy and the downfall, and how it's, where has that taken action engineering over the years? Because I know for me, it kind of allows me to, like, really, that's when you're in the down end of the economy. That's where you come up with new ideas and new products. Yeah, I kind of feel like you can flourish in that respect. Um, and then when the market gets better, the economy is getting better, your new product that you have launched, hopefully that's going to build and brand itself, over the next couple of years. You know, so for you, how has the economy affected your business, and where do you stand, like today with the economy?
Well, I think that's a great question, and you're right. I have been through a number of cycles. Um, the first really bad cycle we went through was in first of 2000. Was it 99? And that's when the economy took a real downturn after the Microsoft verdict was read, and they were accused of being a monopoly, and that really put a mess of into things. There was quite a number of cycles, but I will just go to the worst one of all, and that was the pandemic. That was probably, I think, what every one of us is easily going to point to and say the scariest economic time of our life is when the pandemic came through and we were told you're not allowed to do business, go home, put all your employees on unemployment. We'll let you know when you're allowed to go back into work. It was absolute madness. I'm still questioning the whole thing. What was that? But
Well,
as it
hey, you know
turns
what?
out,
And
yeah, yeah.
and you're right. And look what it did for you, because in a downfall of an economy, and the pandemic was definitely one, the innovator in you came out and you created
Face mask palace, baby.
face mask pallets. There you
Yeah,
go.
definitely.
That was the single greatest professional accomplishment of my life. I
Wow.
don't think
Yep.
it could
So
ever
hey,
possibly be
I want to
surpassed.
pause you. I want to pause you for a
Yeah,
minute, because
yeah.
it's going back to the question, of what I was asking. When you look at, as a true innovator and creator, that downfall, which we all thought, hey, we're going to close our business, right? I'm not going to have business. I don't even know if I'm going to get back into the industry. All these things are going through our minds. But for me and for you and for the Ryan Moores of the world, I mean, we all put our heads down and created something, and we didn't collaborate. Were, we knew that, hey, this is the next drive that's going to make us money until we figure this crap out. Right. And
Yeah,
you did that.
I did. And since you brought it up, there was some collaboration. It was Ryan Moore who called me and said, Eric, you got to figure out how to print on face masks, and you need to do it immediately. And he overnighted me a box of face masks. And I will tell you that in an absolute astonishingly short amount of time. I had face mask pallets developed in a number of different sizes. I had converted my factory to be able to produce and assemble face mask pallets en masse, and I give Ryan full credit to actually putting that in front of me. When he said this to me, it was a eureka
Yeah.
moment, and I immediately recognized
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
I'm allowed to go back to work now. And
Sure.
uh,
Yeah.
oh
I was
yeah,
actually going to touch on that. So, in Canada, they literally shut everything down. And we at RB Digital were only closed 3 days. And the reason why is because we were instantaneously considered to be an essential service. We have a massive industrial sewing background. So, as you can imagine, huge spike in manufacturing of masks or gowns or whatever. So,
oh
and
right, yeah,
we again, we thought that we were, going to take a big hit. We were all kind of worried. Um, but literally, like 3 days later, we were back in and we were selling industrial sewing machines like crazy. So I don't know how it worked in the US. If they had something like that where, hey, you're considered an essential service.
We
And
did.
yeah, okay. So how long did it take you, Eric, to basically get back up and running? I mean, were you down for months at a time or was it literally
no, I
weeks? What did it
think
look like for you?
we were down over a week. Might have
Okay.
been almost 2 weeks.
Not bad at
So
all.
yeah, hey, look, I never shut down.
Yeah.
I couldn't. I was like, there's absolutely no way. I have to figure something out. And and I went out and bought a one of those it's like within the sewing world, it basically looks like a bandsaw and it cuts fabric and I'm like, I'm going to start making my own mask. Right? So
Nice.
we were printing
Yeah.
X glue and gluing them together and gluing the straps on them, and I'm like, "Hey, let's put a screen print on them." So that's what we were doing.
Yeah.
But the crazy part was driving into work, and it was like I was the only one
Oh
alive.
yeah,
It was
right.
nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like
Right,
it's
totally
like it's
insane.
like driving
Hopefully,
through the
we will never
apocalypse, right?
experience
End of
that
the
again.
world. Oh yeah. Yeah.
It
Yeah.
It
was. It
was it
Definitely
was
was.
not.
madness. It was
And
madness.
and I think we were all
Yeah.
fortunate
So
enough to be
so
yeah, so I was saying, luckily we're all fortunate enough to be positioned in an industry that was needed in this pandemic, right? So we didn't suffer the way some other companies suffered. And Eric, I had kind of touched on a question a little bit earlier, and you could go on a little bit further on that. But companies like yourselves or RB Digital, we've made massive investments. If you're an online business, you're good. You could survive a little bit. Hopefully you have a little bit nestled away for your mortgage and your bills. But a company like ours, where we have a ton of employees or a ton of staff, I mean, being in business, Eric, over the last 30 years, like what kind of investments have you made into personnel? Like, what does your staff look like to run Action Engineering? How much money have you spent in, equipment, manufacturing equipment? That's
R&D.
yeah,
Yeah.
R&D, like to get a business to your size over these decades, what have you had to invest into your company? Because again, if you could not make profit during those times, you could have been in a lot of trouble.
Yeah. I agree. Uh, what is the total amount of money that has gone into this company and machinery? I don't have that number. I can assure you it is a very large number. Um, Obviously, we didn't do it all at one time. It's grown little by little by little. I will tell you that I'm in a very good situation where I own every single piece of machinery here outright. I
Huge.
own the land and the building that we have our business in outright. I have no leases. I have no mortgages. And if it wasn't for that, I would not have the
Yeah.
level of comfort and be able to sleep at night like I do. Um, you asked about economic challenges. These last few years, we've seen a declination in volume that I've never gone through before. There's a lot of reasons for it. The pandemic definitely bloated our economy a considerable amount. I myself kind of thought it was going to last, and it didn't. I was a fool. After 2022, we started to see our volume drop, and it has stabilized since then, but we're down an appreciable amount, an amount that all of the other OEMs and I are in agreement on. Every company that manufactures machinery all came up with basically the same declination in volume, and we're all basically in agreement that we've seen the bottom. There's some growth ahead, and we're all looking forward to that. But that's this last downside, this last downturn in the economy has been the most difficult for me.
Yeah, and
And
we've seen, I've had suppliers. I'd say specifically in the screen print space, more so than other areas of decoration technology. Like the wide format guys, they're solid. DTF is booming, but the guys that are in the screen print space or dealers that only sold screen printing, I mean, I'm hearing numbers anywhere from 20 to 40%. I mean, they're big, right?
yeah,
We're not
yep,
talking 5, 6, 7%. They're big drops.
right,
I mean, you
right,
look,
right,
for
yeah,
example, MHM, they've filed, right, for bankruptcy, and I think some other company just recently picked them up, or
they
I
did.
believe the uh, the original engineer is now one of the owners or something. You look at Workhorse. Workhorse just got acquired by Lawson, not because they were doing well, I'm assuming. And yeah, you look at all the big boys; they're all down, and they're all trying to figure out how to get a piece of the digital, right? Not just focus primarily on the screen printing. So, and that being said, see, talking about what you're talking about now and hoping things get better, where do you see the screen print accessories market heading in the next 5 to 10 years? Like, what do you see happening?
Well, we are an absolute idea machine. There's never ever been a lack of ideas, a lack of creativity. What do you think we can make next? What would people want to see? I have a spreadsheet of ideas that are all great. We're working on some of them a little more than others. Um, Screen printing is still going to be a viable process that's employed for garment decorating for a very long time. The economics, the durability, the versatility, the amount of machinery that's in service, it's not going to be obsoleted tomorrow. And we're continuing to focus on making screen printers' lives easier, making production faster, making quality screen prints easier to accomplish, and that's still something we're very much focused on and enjoy doing. Our products really fall into you got to have it, or boy, wouldn't it be nice to have it? And uh, the wouldn't it be nice to have it, or things like racks for pallets and things that just generally make the world of screen printing a little bit easier to deal with on a day-to-day basis. Then, of course, we have things that you need to have, such as if you want to print well on zipper hoodies, we have products that are specifically designed to enable you to print well on zipper hoodies and hats and long sleeves and everything else. And those are kind of got to have them. So,
So for you, Eric, where do you see, we talked a little bit about screen print. How about the world of DTG, between DTG and DTF? How has DTF affected your DTG, accessories?
it's enormous. I will tell you that my number one customer for DTG, who is one of this country's very largest sellers of DTG machines, they were my number two account for a couple of years after the pandemic, and I don't hear from them anymore. So that's got to tell you something. Um, Without wanting to, alarm anybody, I just don't really see DTG orders through here very often at all anymore. And
Yeah. And
my opinion is the DTF is probably displacing most of that production.
yeah.
Absolutely. So when you look at it as, as an entrepreneur and an innovator, we're going to see the rise and decline, within the industry in different segments, right? So when you look at, you have screen print, you have DTF, you have DTG. It's, when I talk to printers, a lot of them, they had made that transition from their DTG to a DTF because it's a lot faster on output, a lot on cost savings. If you have your own DTF machine, you can produce a transfer for less than, I guess, 17 cents, depending, the size of it. But, it's what's the next thing? What do you do? What do you need to create for the transfer world? So if I was in your wheelhouse and, my head's always spinning, I'm always, trying to come up with ideas, what can you develop for the DTF world? Right. Um, there's got to be something out there. We don't know what it is yet, but how do you expand your knowledge on finding that idea? Do you visit shops? Are you talking to people? What helps you to be creative within your business?
Best ideas we get are from our customers, and I've got a lot of 'em that we've known for a very long time. I count so many of them as very good personal friends. We talk by every possible method of communicating now. Um, and I am very often contacted. Hey, Eric, let me tell you what we're working on and what the challenge is and what I picture as a great solution. I couldn't do it, but I know you could come up with something. And that's really, a lot of the genesis of our ideas and just the motivation we get from our customers. And of course, one of the things I say to them is, what do you think you would be willing to pay to alleviate this issue? What is it worth? How much is and by the way, while we're on the subject, that is generally where I start when I'm talking about research and development. You start with the economics and is this a problem? How much would it cost for me to solve the problem? What do I think other people would be willing to pay to solve the problem? Is there enough left over for me to be motivated to do this? And it's a real obvious thing, but a lot of people don't really clearly understand how the R&D is working. So,
No, and you're right. And when you think of that, you have to make the right choice, right? The right decision, because you don't want something to backfire on you. When you look at, you know, and I say this in respect of, like, you don't want to create something that is pretty much somewhat simplified, that a shop owner can make their own and create their own, right? Because let's face it, there's a lot of shop owners that think, hey, you know what? I'm going to go out and build my own thing. I've had shop owners that have created their own Stampinator, and, I've seen some things that came through, and, I applaud them. I'm like, hey, fantastic. That's awesome that you're able to do it. But they'll reach back out to me and say, it didn't work out as the way I thought it was going to work out. Like, we just kept having electrical problems, or, a lot of
yeah,
variables, right?
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
you have to really think, like, if for your overhead, your R&D, like, is this worth the time, right? So that's why I kind of feel like, sometimes it's great to visit shops and just kind of get an understanding of the shop layout, their format of what they're doing, because you might see something visually that might give you that, it might spark that new idea for you, versus having that conversation. And I'll tell you, the manual Stampinator, I created that because I had one customer who kept bugging me and bugging me. And, I put a little research into it to see if it was a need within the market. And I felt like, you know what, it is. There's definitely something out there. There's somebody out there for it. But, it was gonna cost, it was a good amount to make it and get it up and out there. But it's a gamble, but you have to know when to stop on something and not keep pursuing it.
Yeah. I
That's
mean,
the
I
key.
yeah, I agree 100%. And obviously we've been a distributor of action engineering since I started here, which has been, I think, just a little over 6 years. And I've had some projects that I've worked on Eric with that, Eric, remember you had the badass work cart, a
yeah.
lot of people said, hey, I want to make a really, really cool work cart. And Eric designed one and he had the prototype ready. And then when he looked at basically the sell price it would be needed at to be worth his time to produce in the US, it just didn't make sense, and it was a dead product, and, I was excited, I was inspired by the idea. I actually ended up, reaching out to some manufacturers in China who created our own RB work cart and, RB work cart and screen rack, and, they're pretty cool. They got, 24 screens, let's say, on the screen wrap. The top 4 are adjustable, so you could put rapid tag frames. The work carts have pegboards, you could put your tapes. slots for your squeegees and slots for your plastisol. And I think when I first started looking at it, I told Eric like more or less what I was going to be paying for these, and he's like, "Man, it would cost me more than just the raw material to make it, right?" So I'm
Sure.
sure Eric comes up with a lot of great ideas. A lot of people want is just like, can the market accept that price point? And I think that's probably something you deal with on a regular basis. But one cool thing in dealing with Eric is I feel like you said, you're constantly coming up with new ideas. I had a customer, a great customer of mine, big M&R shop, just bought a whole bunch of new stuff like, the M&R squeegee cleaner and everything else. And he's wanting to automate as many parts of the process as he can. And, Eric obviously has the squeegee cleaners, which I sell to every single shop. It's like standard, whether in auto or in manual shop, you get that squeegee cleaner, it makes your life a lot easier. And then the customer came to me and he's like, "Hey, what about the flood bars?" And I said, "Oh, that's a good question. No one's asked me about like, do we have something for the flood bars?" And I reached out to Eric. This is like 2 weeks ago. I'm like, "Hey, Eric, like, do you have this?" He's like, "Oh, wait, I had a project. It's done. It's completely finished. I don't know why I never launched it, but hang on, like, let me go into my archives." And like the next day, he's like, "Here it is," and I guess he's pulling it out. There you go. So he has a solution to clean the flood bars. And Eric, I'm still waiting on pricing to place a PO with you, but it's just cool to see that he's always
Yeah,
got
we're on
these
the
little
website now. I
projects,
meant to tell you, I
working.
forgot.
And okay, great. Well, we'll get an order in. But one thing, Eric, that I want to kind of, from an inventor's perspective, walk us through the process of what's involved in like designing new products. So now you said, okay, we know where the idea comes from, right? You're getting it from customers. Then you see if it's an economical solution. But once that's done, what's the design process look like? How long does that take? And uh, you know, if it's a really cool idea, do you get a patent? Is it hard to get patents? Is it worth your time? Or you just say, "Hey, you know what? I'm just going to design these, and if someone knocks it off, they knock it off, and is what it is." What does all of that space look like for you? Because I think that's pretty interesting for our listeners.
Oh, first, the question of how does the design process look? We employ software that is called SolidWorks. It's a 3D modeling software. We've been using it since almost the very beginning of the development of this SolidWorks. Prior to that, we were on AutoCAD. And, I have an engineering background. I have a degree in electrical engineering that I finished off in 1991. Which, by the way, that was by far the hardest thing I have ever done in my life. After that, this was easy. This stuff, okay, that back then it was every day was do or die. Since then, it was like, yeah, we ought to try to finish that sometime soon. Okay, so my engineering background has afforded me the ability to really develop ideas and work with software that a lot of other people, it would take them a lot more time to kind of really get the hang of. But today, I am able to, with the help of my other assistants and engineers here, we can come up with a 20-part assembly in a day or two, and we do it. And the day after that, we could be cutting it, and the day after that, it could be painted and ready to ship. So when it comes to R&D and being able to take an idea out of my head and have it ready to go, it's unbelievable. I have very, very many times come in here in the morning at 4 o'clock with an idea in my head. I have a 20-part model done in SolidWorks. I generate renderings of the model that I can put on my website, and I'm getting orders for this thing before I go home.
Yeah,
It's, it's one of the greatest, funnest thing in the world is to have an idea in the morning and be getting paid for it that day.
crazy.
And our ability to very rapidly generate models of our ideas and to be able to explain them and put them onto our e-commerce friendly website, there's almost no greater joy in business, man,
And
than
and I
to
see you
go from
always I see you always float your ideas, it seems like, through like your social media channels, like or Facebook market groups. Like I see, I don't know,
yeah,
every couple months, it's like, "Hey guys, what do you think about this?" And you get 10 guys like, "Oh, this is great." Then you get the one asshole. It's like, "Oh, it's stupid. I can make it myself." You know what I mean? Um,
right,
but
yeah.
uh, but yeah,
Oh
I
yeah,
guess
totally.
that's
Every
another way
time,
for you
right.
to kind of test the waters.
It is. It's exactly
Well,
right.
that's yeah. I mean, look, Eric's putting together. That's his focus group, right? Your outlet of social media. I don't like to do that. To me, I'd rather just find some people within the industry, kind of keep it like that on the down low, just because I don't want people to feel like I said, and that's why you have to be careful. Like when you create something, you want to make sure you have something that isn't showing like you're desperate to sell something, but you're selling something because it's something within the industry that that we need as a screen printer. But I want to backtrack a little bit on going back to the cart and the manufacturing. One thing for me, what's important to me as a business owner and manufacturing the Stampinator is made in USA. Like when I look at I've always looked at M&R as the leader of the industry with screen print products, and they have sold their presses all over the world. And when I talk to people, it doesn't matter where you're from, even up in Canada, Zach. When I talk to people, they want American made products.
Yeah.
Like they truly do. They want things that are solid and that are going to work. And that's what I push with the stamp. And I look at with Eric when I think of you and I think of your products. There is a value on what you're selling it for because it is made in USA, and I can't stress that enough. I use that all the time. Made in USA. I'm happy to have product here manufactured. I'm excited to give someone a job and opportunity. To me, that's huge. You can bring product in from China and you can get it cheaper you know, and I think it's okay depending on what you're getting and what you're bringing in. So those are the things that I look at. Like sometimes it's not really about the price, it's about where it's made, right? And to me, that's important. And that's something that I always recommend for any company in the US to push that product that it is made in USA. I don't know how with Canada and how you guys manufacture, if you have that same motto for the Canadians, but I think that's definitely something that you need to stand by when you're producing product. And even Ryanette, they're in the same boat, right? They manufacture a lot of their own screen print presses, and there's a value of what they have to sell it for to make a profit, and but at the same time you're still getting a solid piece of equipment that is going to last for years to come. And the downside within our industry, and the good part for you, Eric, is we hire employees that are handling the equipment. They're breaking parts on the screen print presses. They're bending the pallets because they're leaning on them. You got to order new pallets. We rely on all those things to make money, right? To keep us going. So it's like it's that line. When do you cross it? When do you not cross it on manufacturing here in the States, or bringing some components in that might help make it a little bit cheaper for you to get things out there, at a certain price point. So I look at your business, Eric, Action Engineering made in USA. To me, I just think it's a powerful statement when it comes to selling product that you're manufacturing here in the
Really
States.
appreciate you saying that, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
I hope that everybody feels that way. I really do.
Yeah, I think so. I
Um,
mean, Jeff, you and I had this discussion maybe about a year and a half ago. I had a massive production partner lined up that could make your unit overseas for a fraction of what you could. And, I bounced the idea off of you, and
Yeah.
you were considering it. And from there, you basically said, you know what, I want to keep it made in the US. And since then, you've actually now partnered up with Stalls, right? So I know this is kind of uh, Eric's, discussion about his product line, but let's talk a little bit about yours. What's new with this partnership? What does the new machine look like? What does the new partnership look like? Are you happy with how that's going? Let's talk a little bit about that, because we've sold a ton of your machines. I haven't sold any of the new ones yet.
Yeah.
I
So
think they're available now.
and absolutely, look, the partnership with Stalls is fantastic. I'm super excited. We have a product now. It's 100% flat. We have a casted piece of aluminum. It has a safety feature in it where it's an automatic shut off after 2 hours. So if you leave it on, it's not going to harm anything. But one thing what I really love about Stalls is I've been to their manufacturing plant. It's made in USA. that to me is so important because a lot of my customers that are in Europe, they want USA product, right?
Wow.
I mean, the Europeans make some great product. Rock. I think Rock, hands down, is one of my favorite presses I've ever worked on. So, but it's with the Europeans and the Americans, I feel like we all build and create really good products. I can't really say much for Canada because we don't see much coming in from Canada into the States, but we see a lot of product going into Canada. So, and Canada, population wise, isn't that big anyway, right? You guys have a shitload of land, but you
Yeah,
have no people
totally.
right down at the border. But yeah, the new partnership with Stalls is fantastic, and and one thing for me is, as a business owner, sometimes you have to make some choices that you may not want to make because for me personally, I was a control freak, like I love to have hands on, right, with everything. But this was a good opportunity, and it was probably one of the best things for me to do, to partner with Stalls because their distribution channel is worldwide. They have every certification that I need for electrical, whether that's US, Europe, uh, Canada, you name it, we have all that. And we're getting ready for for you, Zach, so the product to be ready for all the CS for Canada for the electrical. So, it's just those times of making that choice. And what it came down for me, guys, was I need something to better my life because I was working 17, 18, 19 hours a day.
Like you were
But I'm a
assembling them yourself,
workaholic. I
right?
love working.
You were literally
We
assembling
were.
them.
We were assembling everything.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I had two guys in here, and we would build and assemble. And it was hard to take and let that go. And when I see you, Eric, and I think of your business, you're that guy. You're the engineer. You're the designer. You're in SolidWorks. You're creating and producing. You're on the floor. Like, if you're one thing Ryan has always said to me was, you know, and I've had all these things. I've been a screen printer my entire life. We were doing almost 10 million a year. I had 60 employees at one point. I had two partners. I had four automatic presses. I had embroidery machines. You name
Wow,
it, we were doing
fantastic,
it.
man.
Yeah, we were crushing it. And I've been a printer my entire life, and came up with the idea of the Stampinator. And but my point is, Ryan has said to me, you know, you need systems and processes. And I totally agree with that statement 100% because I had all that. I had that at one point in my life. Later on in life at 45, starting a new business and building and getting it out there. If you want to grow your business, you got to work on your business. You can't work in your business,
For
right?
sure.
And that's where you need to realize and understand, when do I need to outsource and find help? Because maybe I'm working and spending too much time working in my business instead of on my business, right? So, and
Yeah.
one of the things
I
for
mean,
me
Jeff,
was the
you had
pandemic
said
hurt me. I couldn't find employees. Nobody wanted to work, and that was very difficult, in trying to regrow. And today, people don't want to work in warehouse. I don't know how it is for you, Eric, but when it's a lot of people don't want to get involved into, they want a desk job or they want a remote position. That's what they're all looking for. So it's interesting, but that partnership, I think, with Stalls it's been fantastic. I think they're a great company to work for and work with. I should say. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to see where this is going to go in the next 2 years.
and what's different with the new
Fantastic, man.
version of the product, the new unit that you've made, right? What's new from your old one?
So the new feature with our heating element, you could crank that thing up to 800 degrees, and that platen will not warp or bend. If you're not getting a smooth print, that's because your pallet is not level. It's bent. If you have When you look at, and Eric, you're in the pallet business. When you look at aluminum pallets, a lot of that it's rolled aluminum, right? So with a squeegee, your squeegees, they have flex, they bend, so they have contour to the pallet, right?
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
with the stamp, the best pallet on the market, and that's why I was asking you before, do you make pallets for M&R? Honeycomb pallets, they are as flat as can be. You can't find anything without any, that's better, I feel. They're amazing. And the honeycomb works extremely well with the stamp.
Yeah.
Jeff, I'm confused. I thought that all of the pallets that were employed for use with your device had to have silicone rubber on top of them.
Absolutely not. I prefer not having, well, you call it silicone rubber. I call it are you talking about the gum rubber the pallet adhesive, the pallet stick that you sell?
It's the same rubber that's on top of a heat press.
No, we don't need any of that rubber when it comes to screen printing. The only rubber we use that rubber for DTF transfers only.
I see. Okay. This rubber would be very helpful for your process.
What do you mean?
The rubber has the compression characteristics that will allow it to mitigate any slight inaccuracies in the substrate, in the base material. So as you said, you've got solid aluminum and it could have, a slight curvature. If you press down against this rubber, it's going to mitigate the curvature of the base material, and it's going to give you the press and quality that you need.
Yeah,
This is what
for DTF, absolutely, but for screen printing, so that's why I said when you were showing me that palette earlier, and I'm looking at it, when you're printing on it, here's some of the issues are this: when you're printing, if you're printing a sim process and you're doing, let's just say it's an 8-color print, if you print with that sponge rubber, you're going to lose registration within your prints. The shirt, those are the issues that you have. But if you're doing like over a pocket of a sweatshirt or a zipper, I think it's great. But I think what I would create is I would create a palette with your gum rubber and just put notches in it for the pallet stick. So that notch in your rubber, now that zipper falls down in between. So I'm just swapping out my pallets with another pallet with that notch. And the same thing for a pocket on a sweatshirt. I think that would be fantastic with what you're using with that peel and stick.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, we're you say gum rubber, you're referring to the normal rubber that we put on pallets?
The white rubber, yeah, it's because it's back in the day, in the 90s, everybody referred to it as gum rubber. I don't know what they call it today, but I that's where I'm at with it.
Yeah, man. Well, you and I have a lot of things we could work together on, and I would really like to do that. You've got
Yeah,
a
absolutely. We can definitely
lot of
talk.
experience, a lot of ideas, and I've got a
Yeah,
factory here that, as I said, it can take an idea in the morning and be capitalizing on it before you leave that day. So
Yeah.
well, Eric, your background and my background's similar, right? You're talking about how you're tearing your bike apart, rebuilding it. Like that was me, right? I
nice,
had dirt bikes. I
nice.
when I was 6, I had a YZ80. Okay,
What? You had a
YZ80,
YZ8 at 6 years old?
6 years old. So when I look at all these motorcycles I had, my father came home with a mini bike, and that wasn't good enough for me, right? We wanted something with more power because our mini bike had a plate that stopped, that hit the wheel, a steel
Yeah,
plate to slow it
right,
down. But
right.
I had
No suspension
uh
on it either, right?
no, right? Just
Right,
all
right,
rigid. But
right,
I
right.
was I had when I turned 16, I had a pickup truck. My father had bought a pickup truck for my brother and I have a twin brother. We tore that thing apart, put a body lift on it. I put a 4-inch lift on it. I had 38 Super Swampers, right?
Awesome, man,
38
awesome.
950s, and then
Oh, yeah,
Jeeps, Harleys, and I still do all that today. Like I
yeah,
still tinker and I love it, right? I got
yeah,
3 kids. I don't have that time. But that's what keeps me going, right? Coming up with new ideas and just and also you need that time to relax and rest your mind, and that's when I go
Yeah.
out, I tear the Harley apart or I go out for a ride, right?
nice.
Like
Yeah,
But yeah,
and that's
and your
that's
background
part of
in
what
that.
yeah, it's part of what being an inventor is. I mean, and it's I'm sure you guys are inventing things not only for your own product line, but to make your lives easier, right? So, yeah, I mean, Eric, besides, I mean, I'm sure there's been a whole bunch of different things that you've developed. I mean, I know, when it came to DTF, now you're trying to focus on developing some products, for DTF. So, one of the projects that you did was create, quick change Platons for MEM presses, which was a popular Chinese press being sold and kind of flooded the market. I'm sure that's going well. Besides that,
Yeah, it is.
any new projects that you've like completed over the last, 3, 6 months, or new ones you're working on, things that people should look at? What do you got cooking?
Well, there is one uh, project we've worked on for about the last 6 months pretty diligently. And if you give me a second, I'd like to grab it. This is the first time it's been seen. Ladies and gentlemen, let
But
me
yeah,
introduce to
I've
you
seen
the
this one.
Captain Cool.
Jeff, you're gonna like this one.
That I tested that mush. I tested that in my shop with Captain Cool.
Yeah.
So you want to
So we
explain?
all know what this does?
Well, I think you
No.
should explain it for the users. That's important
Yeah,
for the
man.
listeners.
So the Captain Cool mounts on to the front screen holder of any automatic screen printing press. We have them available for M&R, Anatol, Workhorse, that type of mount. We're working on the ones that are necessary for rock, but they blow a substantial amount of air directly across a pallet that has just been flashed. So it blows it directly on top of the pallet, blows it a little bit underneath the pallet. It's designed so that it will mount in just the exact correct location to be able to focus all of the airflow exactly where it needs to be. And these are absolutely working. I've seen them in service. They completely eliminate the need for a cool down station following the flash. It's a huge deal.
Yeah,
Anybody that is using a flash and has to have a cool down station after it, they can now put a screen into that station
yeah,
as long as they have this Captain Cool system in service. So especially useful for any of these smaller machines, 6, 8, 10 station machines. But as it was discussed earlier with me, even the bigger machines that have multiple flashes are going to benefit from having this thing immediately after the flash because it helps to reduce the temperature of the pallets and keeps them from overheating and keeps your operators a bit happier. It's going to end up giving you a lot more control over your production. And I could easily see every single factory in the country having at least one of these. So I'm
totally
excited
agree.
about it. This is an idea that was originally developed by Andy Millman, and his company, of course, is
Captain Jerry's.
Captain Jerry's. Thank you. Why can't I ever remember this? I keep having to
Hey,
look it up, man.
hey,
Sorry.
you know
He's a
one thing
customer of ours. He's a great guy. I just could never remember the name, Captain Jerry's. So sorry
Hey,
about that,
Captain
Andy.
Cool. It's Captain Cool. You got
It's
Captain Cool,
he's
Captain Jerry's.
and he is, by the way, he's the definition of cool. He's a great guy.
Yeah,
I've
Their
and
really
business has
enjoyed
been around
working with
forever.
him.
Family, I think it's like 3 generations. His
yeah.
grandfather started the company, and then his dad, now
Fantastic.
him.
Love it.
Yeah.
And for
But
me
hey,
as a distributor, like I'm super excited for this product because the candidate for this type of product in the screen print space is, the biggest mistake screen printers make is always buying a press that's too small, whether it's because of budget or they don't think they're going to need to go that big. So everyone's going to love the idea of freeing up an extra color. This is going to be great for water-based printers. They're having lots of cool down stations, right? So that's going to be huge. Or even at the time of purchase. So let's just say a customer's like, Zach, I really want an 8 color. I can't swing the budget or the space, the press is going to be too big for my area. and say, "Hey, listen, go with the smaller size, throw on one of these Captain Cools, and your problem solved," right? So I'm super excited. I don't know when you're actually gonna have those ready for sale, Eric, but literally the day that Eric told me, I I spoke to a customer right away. He's like, "Okay, I want one," and told Eric, he told me to pump the brakes a little bit. So I don't know where you're at with the launch of that product yet.
Um, well, there has been some challenges to getting things really wrapped up, but we are finalizing all of the details now, and I anticipate having this product on the website next week. I anticipate having videos of this exact product in production available a couple of weeks from now, maybe next week. This unit that I just showed you is actually getting shipped over to Andy tomorrow or possibly Monday, and he'll be putting together videos of this in service. And we've worked out all the necessary details to be able to ramp up when we are starting to see orders for it come in, and I'm very hopeful. It's a great product. I agree with you.
Did I got a question because only I had a couple of concerns with that when it came out. So one thing I will say over the years, equipment has changed. It's, shops are getting a little bit more quieter, right, with equipment. The noise level, the humming of equipment, the decimals have gone down. And I know when he brought that over, the fans he had like really like big fan, like I don't not big fans, but they were just putting out a lot of CFM, right? It was just like, shh. Did you guys reduce that down because it was almost where as a printer and an unloader, you couldn't really have a conversation because it was a little loud, and that was something that we had discussed. But, those are the things that, you know, that's where you really need to talk to the shops and put product out there and test it before you sell it to make sure it's something that isn't going to create havoc. And we're not, Eric, you and I, we're not these big M&R rock shops where we can just take something and put it out there and say, you know what? It's not going to work. Let's just scrap it. Right. You want to have something that is solid and it's going to work. And I know the channel, the airflow channel that he created, it's perfect. It gets that gap between the palette
Right.
and the screen. Right. But
Exactly right. Yeah.
I don't think, and what I had said to Andy was where I'm going with this is you don't need a lot of airflow. You just need airflow coming through. And here's why. They've been around for a long time. Which press out there flashes and prints, and no one seems to have any problem with sticking or tack, which still blows my mind today.
I think you're talking about the workhorse flashback.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
How is that so successful? Right? I mean, it's flashing and then printing, right? Like we go to print, we flash and we go to print and you get tack really bad or it's sticking.
It's not
What
flashing and printing, is it? I thought it was
it
printing and
flashes
flashing.
first. Well,
It
it
prints and then it flashes.
oh yeah, that's right. Okay, so then
Yeah. So
there it is.
it's
So
for putting a flash into the first station where you're
correct.
applying the underbase.
But I guess where I was going with this was with the print, the ink's not drying in the screen with that, right? Like so when there's no cool down, there's no fan inside of it, and they're super successful with it. And it still goes around and you still have heat and you still get that tack and you would need a fan for that. But it's like where I'm going is, they've created a product that truly works. Whereas you've come out with a product where you had a fan on a stand. I take a fan. I'm doing the same thing. We're printing long sleeves. It's blowing the sleeve up over on the pallet. It gets printed. And then here comes Captain Cool with something that is like an air duct system that no one's ever thought of or created. Like, I think it's genius. Like, it's something that every shop is definitely going to need with
Yeah.
hands down, no doubt. But
Right.
I just think of, the decimals of how loud it is. And because it does get that airflow where, like almost like of a whistling type sound that comes through. So the speed of the fan doesn't need to be as pumping out as much air. It just needs airflow over it just to take away that tack when we go to print, right? Those are things that, I look at for feedback when I'm creating something or I put it out, because negative feedback is absolutely 100% fantastic because it allows you to improve your product to take it to the next level, right? But
Always.
yeah, so when I look at that, I'm excited to see what's gonna happen, where it's gonna go. I think it's definitely a need within the market. Um, we all have that problem printing with low cure inks. We're getting a lot of tack, and low cure wants to tend to cure in the screen because a lot of people still are having trying to dial their flashes in and keeping those palettes in the screen print world. Eric, we always wanted to have our palettes nice and hot. Well, low cure inks, you don't want your palettes nice and hot because now that ink's going to start drying in the screens. So you don't need one, you need one on every head. You need a Captain Cool on every head.
Oh, I
That'd be
like the way
great.
you're thinking.
That'd be great for
Right.
Eric.
Yeah. Hey, while I'm in front of you, let me take back what I said regarding how the flashback system works on Workhorse. I'm not 100% certain on that, and what I am sure is that my last comment was probably not accurate on how this thing works. I don't know. I actually, come to think of it,
Yeah, I mean, I don't
but
I don't see too many workhorses in the field, and when I do, it's somebody that wants to upgrade, to a M&R because that's what we sell. But yeah, we don't see too many of them. Some used ones kind of sneak their way up here, but I don't think they have much of a presence here in Canada at all. So yeah, in addition to Captain Cool, I think you just made a squeegee cutter, right? So that was a new product. What else have you completed lately, or
yeah, a
you're
lot of new
working on?
products, man. My God.
High
Do you
Wait,
level,
is
mind if
rapid
this
I
fire.
a squeegee cutter or squeegee sharpener? I'm sorry.
squeegee cutter? Do you mind if I share my screen?
No, go ahead. Yeah, that'd be cool.
Would that be available to me,
Yeah,
Ahmet? Here's a few new things. You said squeegee cutter, okay. So we have this. Can you see it?
yep,
It's
yep.
still load.
Yeah.
I see it here. Yep.
Okay. So you mount this thing on a table. You put a roll of squeegee rubber here into that caddy, and
Very cool.
now you're able to cut the squeegee rubber very quickly and accurately. We have this little area of sandpaper that allows you to ease the edge right
Nice.
there.
Yeah,
Okay, so it's
great.
all built in one unit. Makes cutting squeegee rubber very, very easy. Here is
That's good. So you're not going to lose a finger with a razor blade.
correct.
Yeah,
Here's an example of the retrofit kits for the MEM machine. We add these parts to your MEM heat press, and we're then able to use quick release pallets on there that are locked into position using that spring plunger. That's very nice. We've got, as we said, Captain Cool.
awesome.
This, by the way, is SolidWorks. I've talked to you about great software. One of our latest and greatest, we just started putting this silicone foam rubber on top of screen printing pallets. And this was an idea that was brought to me recently. And it has become very apparent that with the addition of this silicone foam rubber, you're now able to print zipper hoodies without a channel. This same palette is going to be able to print on plackets and baseball jerseys, anything that has a zipper,
Wow.
anything that has a button hem assembly.
And that just stays on there all the time. You're printing regular T-shirts, you just keep it on there.
No, this is just for printing on hoodies.
So it comes on and off, or is that just the whole palette that's
That's the
swapped
whole
out?
palette.
Okay,
It's the whole
cool,
palette.
cool.
And I don't see why you couldn't do regular shirts on there. But I think it would be better to use a regular
So
palette
so
than
how does
this.
this work that you don't need a channel anymore for the zipper to drop into?
The rubber has just the right compressive characteristics that it pushes the zipper down, and it
Wow.
does not harm the screen, and the image just lays over it so nice. I've got pictures of that process being employed, and the resulting quality of the image is really remarkable. It's amazing.
Very cool.
So
Very cool. Nice.
so we're finding a lot of different methods, a lot of different uses for this rubber. And so this is one that's shown now on the MHM, and it is also available for the M&R. And I guess not quite ready there. All right.
Cool. Cool. So always stuff
And
going on.
what else can I
Needless to
tell you
say.
about?
So,
Always stuff. Yep.
cool. Cool.
Those are just a
So
few
yeah,
cool
just to
things
kind
we're
of
working on and have been working on.
awesome. Awesome. So yeah, just to kind of wrap up.
We've got a never-ending parade of
Yeah.
R&D.
Well, if you're not advancing, you're dying, right? So adapt or die, right? That's I think we all kind of have to
Yes,
live
sir.
by that as
Correct.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
so.
man.
So Eric, to kind of wrap up, if you were to look back at your career, and the business that you built, what are some of the most rewarding aspects that you have found working within this industry? What gives you that drive to get up? You say you're excited to go to work. Sundays you're all jittery to get back into the office. What is fueling that for you? Like, what's made this be what you wanted to dedicate your life to?
I mean, guys, I'm sure you'll understand this answer very well. I built this business in my exact image to what it is I enjoy doing the most. And I'm unbelievably fortunate, and I know that I get to come in and work on something that I designed it to be the most perfect place to work. And I have people here that have been with me for a very, very long time. I've treated them well. I'm rewarded by their commitment and by their longevity being here. And, I basically put together the perfect company for Eric and for anybody else to come in here. I don't think they're going to enjoy it the way I do. Um, and that has resulted in the most obvious I'll never be able to sell this place.
Yeah.
I'll have to work till the day I die. They're
Well,
going to
well,
have to sweep my dust out of my desk one day, man. So.
I think
That's
on
where
your
you're going to find
downtime,
me,
you got to
Eric,
work
right
on
here.
you
I'm not.
yeah, Eric, before
There
you
is no
go,
exit, man.
no,
There is
no,
no exit strategy, brother. There's
and
no
you got to
not gonna happen.
prepare. I think you have to start designing the badass coffin that you should be buried in, man. Because I know you got your badass line, and that's on all your products. When you got some downtime, slowly start tinkering, and when you get in that ground, you leave with a bang. The coolest coffin ever seen to mankind.
I
I
love it,
got it.
yeah.
Make it all out of pallets.
I
Or
love it.
as Zach would say, platens.
I love it.
Patents.
I'm gonna do that.
Awesome. Great. Well, listen, guys, thank you very much for joining. I
Guys,
had a
great.
blast. Jeff, thanks for joining, and Eric. I think we learned a lot here. Glad to
Absolutely.
see that you've weathered the storm and things are looking good, moving in the right direction, and you haven't stopped innovating and inventing. And I just want to thank you for always being a very good partner of ours at RB Digital. And I'm sure you treat us the same way you do all of your other vendors around the world. So couldn't be happier to work with you. You're an awesome guy, awesome company, and just want to say thanks.
Back at you, my friend. I really appreciate the time that we've been working together, and I'm looking forward to many more years of it.
Great, great. Take care, guys. Have a great day.
All
See
All
ya.
right.
right.
Yeah,
Thanks,
man.
guys.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Eric.
Take care.